Leadership isn't about position. It's about presence. Every word you say either builds credibility or destroys it. This audiobook isn't about sounding good. It's about commanding attention. You're going to learn how to speak with confidence, move with clarity, and project authority, even when you're uncertain. Because real leaders don't wait to be heard. They speak, and the room listens. Chapter 1. Your voice is your power. Your voice is not just sound, it's a signal. Every word you say tells the world how much you believe in yourself. Most people just speak to fill silence. Leaders speak to command it. When you open your mouth, people make judgments before you finish your first sentence. They read your tone, your pacing, your posture, long before they process your words. That's the truth no one tells you. The world listens through emotion, not grammar. If your voice trembles, people sense doubt. If your words ramble, people hear confusion. But when your voice is steady, calm, and intentional, people stop scrolling, stop thinking, and start listening. That's power. That's presence. And here's the mindset shift. Your voice is your first leadership tool. Not your title, not your resume, not your appearance. Your voice. It tells people whether to follow you or forget you. 1. Your voice reflects your inner state. You can't sound powerful if you don't feel powerful. Confidence starts inside before it ever reaches your lips. That's the key. You have to build inner conviction before you ever build delivery skills. When you speak from insecurity, it shows. When you speak from truth, it resonates. That's why real confidence isn't about loudness, it's about certainty. You don't have to shout to be heard, you just have to mean it. Say it like it matters, because it does. Here's the truth. People don't follow people who talk perfectly. They follow people who talk authentically. They can feel when you've done the work, when you've earned your confidence. Your voice carries your character. If your words don't match your actions, the world hears the lie before you finish your sentence. When you speak, mean it. Every word is a mirror of your confidence. 2. Your voice is a weapon. Sharpen it. You train your body at the gym. You train your mind through discipline. But how often do you train your voice? Leaders do, because they know communication isn't a soft skill, it's a survival skill. Every conversation is a test. Every meeting, every interview, every moment in front of someone important, your voice decides how you're remembered. And the sad truth? Most people throw that power away by mumbling, rambling, or doubting themselves before they even speak. You have a choice: to speak carelessly and sound uncertain, or to speak intentionally and sound unshakable. That's the difference between noise and leadership. Treat your voice like a weapon. Keep it calm when others panic. Keep it steady when others crack. Keep it precise when others drown in filler words. Control your tone, and you control perception. That's not manipulation, it's discipline. It's not about arrogance, it's about awareness. You don't need to speak fast. You don't need to sound perfect. You just need to sound certain. That's what commands respect. 3. Speak from stillness, not stress. Powerful speakers speak slowly because they think clearly. Weak speakers rush because they're afraid of silence. Silence is not your enemy, it's your ally. The pause between your words builds tension, it builds weight. It tells people you are not in a hurry to prove anything. When you slow down, your words land harder. When you control your breathing, your voice deepens. And when your voice deepens, people feel anchored. That's the hidden truth about leadership. People follow the voice that makes them feel safe. Not loud, not flashy, safe. steady, controlled. You can be that voice, but you must practice. Every day, when you speak, practice being deliberate. Cut the fillers, remove the and Say exactly what you mean and then stop talking. The pause is where power breathes. You have to trust that silence doesn't make you weak, it makes you magnetic. 4. The emotional echo. When you speak, people don't just hear your words, they feel your energy. Your tone tells them how to feel about what you're saying. That's why nervous people make others nervous. Confident people make others calm. You have to master emotional transfer. That's leadership in motion. You set the tone for every room you walk into. If you walk in hesitantly, others mirror hesitation. If you walk in grounded, others mirror confidence. That's how you lead with your voice, not through dominance, but through direction. Speak from peace. Speak from purpose. Speak like someone who knows where they're going, because energy always precedes influence. 5. The real-world practice. Let's get practical. To own your voice, you must practice using it under pressure. Start small. Record yourself speaking for 60 seconds on any topic. Play it back. Listen without judgment. Ask, do I sound certain? Do I sound rushed? Do I sound believable? That's awareness, and awareness is the start of mastery. Next, challenge yourself daily. Speak slower than you feel comfortable. Hold eye contact 1 second longer than usual. Pause before your most important words. It will feel unnatural at first, but that's training, and training is how you transform instinct into influence. Remember, your words are currency. Spend them wisely. Don't give discounts with filler words or nervous tones. Every time you speak, speak like it matters, because someone is always listening. 6. The inner shift. You're not just training your mouth, you're training your mind. You're building the kind of confidence that doesn't depend on external validation. You're building internal proof. And when you believe in your message, your voice becomes unstoppable. That's the secret. It's not about perfection. It's about conviction. You don't need their permission to sound confident. You don't need to have it all figured out before you speak. You just need to believe in what you say, and let that belief carry through every syllable. Speak like you've already earned the right to be heard, because you have. That's the mindset of a leader. Your voice is your power. Protect it, train it, sharpen it. It's the bridge between your potential and your influence. Stop filling space with noise. Start filling it with purpose. You don't have to shout to lead. You just have to speak with certainty. So from now on, when you speak, mean it. Every word is a mirror of your confidence. You've learned the foundation of power, command through voice. Now it's time to go deeper. Because once you master your voice, you must master your motives. You've learned how to sound confident. Now you'll learn how to speak with purpose. Chapter 2. Stop talking to be liked.
You talk too much. Not because you have something to say, but because you want someone to approve of you. That's the trap. That's how people lose power, by chasing validation with their words. Every time you open your mouth to please someone, you trade a piece of your authority for attention. You want to be understood. You want to be accepted. You want to be liked. But here's the truth. Being liked doesn't make you effective. Being respected does. When you talk to be liked, your tone changes, your posture changes. You filter your words to sound less confident and more agreeable. You shrink yourself so others can feel comfortable. You dilute your message just so you don't offend. But here's the rule. Leaders don't soften the truth, they sharpen it. It's not about arrogance. It's about clarity. Real leaders speak to bring direction, not decoration. They don't speak for applause. They speak for impact. You need to unlearn this habit, the addiction to approval. It's an invisible drug. Every time someone smiles at your words, you get a hit of comfort. Every time they frown, you panic and start performing again. That's not confidence. That's dependence. You have a choice. You can either be liked or be respected, but rarely both. When you stop talking to be liked, you regain control. Because approval is unstable. It changes with moods, with trends, with people's insecurities. Respect, however, respect lasts. And the only way to earn it is by standing firm in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unpopular, even when it costs you relationships. Understand this. Most people are not listening to understand you. They're listening to respond. They're measuring your words to decide how they feel about themselves in your presence. So if you keep talking to please everyone, you end up speaking to no one. Your voice loses its edge. Your message loses its weight. You become background noise in your own story. Stop apologizing for being honest. Stop using maybe, I think, and I just feel like to weaken your statements. Those words are comfort zones in disguise. They tell the world you're not sure of yourself. When you speak, mean it. When you choose words, own them. Because confidence doesn't ask permission, it declares presence. You don't need their permission to tell the truth. You don't need their permission to stand tall. You don't need their permission to sound firm. That's the key. Your voice is your boundary. When you use it for clarity, it commands attention. When you use it for approval, it loses all authority. Let's get practical. Here's what it means to stop talking to be liked. 1. Pause before you speak. Ask yourself, am I saying this because it's true or because it's safe? That question will change everything. 2. Say less, mean more. The more words you use, the more room you give people to misinterpret you. Precision is power. 3. Don't explain your boundaries. People who respect you won't need a paragraph to understand a no. 4. Learn to sit in silence after truth. When you speak honestly, some people will look uncomfortable. Let them. That discomfort means you spoke with power. There's a reason people remember strong communicators. It's not because they spoke the most. It's because they spoke clearly. They removed the sugarcoating. They didn't care if their tone made someone flinch. Look at any great leader. They never talked to be liked. They talked to make others think, to awaken something, to challenge the weak and strengthen the willing. So stop chasing smiles. Start chasing truth. You have to understand the cost of trying to be liked. You lose your authenticity. You lose your edge. You lose yourself. Because every time you change your voice to fit in, you erase a piece of who you are. Every time you soften your conviction to avoid judgment, you confirm their control over you. That's not a connection. That's submission. You were not born to be a people pleaser. You were born to be a leader. And leaders are not liked for their comfort. They are respected for their clarity. So here's your challenge. This week, speak one uncomfortable truth you've been avoiding. Tell your friend, your boss, your partner, something you've been holding back because you didn't want conflict. Say it calmly. Say it directly. No sugar, no apology, no validation check. When you do that, you'll feel it, that jolt of self-respect, because your voice just reclaimed its power. And the more you do it, the stronger it gets. The world starts to treat you differently. People listen closer. You become the one who means what they say, the one whose silence carries more weight than most people's noise. That's authority. That's leadership. Don't let fear of rejection silence your truth. Rejection only hurts when you value their comfort more than your integrity. You can live without approval, but you cannot live without self-respect. So choose. Every time you speak, choose power over people-pleasing. Choose honesty over harmony. Choose clarity over comfort. Because the goal is not to be liked. The goal is to be remembered for your truth. And when you start living that way, your voice will no longer chase attention. It will command respect. You have a choice. Keep talking to please the crowd, or start speaking to shape your world. Because when you stop talking to be liked, you finally start being heard. That's the shift. That's the evolution. You stop performing. You start leading. And the world starts paying attention. You've learned how to reclaim your voice. You've learned that respect is louder than approval. Now, it's time to master the art of silence. Because silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon.
Chapter 3. Silence is a strategy. Silence makes people uncomfortable. That's why it's powerful. Most people can't sit in it for more than a few seconds. They rush to fill it with chatter, excuses, or nervous laughter. But the disciplined ones, they use silence like a weapon. Because here's the truth. The pause is more powerful than the paragraph. Every great speaker knows it. Every great leader lives it. Silence builds presence. Silence commands attention. Silence makes your words hit harder. When you understand this, you stop talking just to prove something. You start letting your presence do the talking. Most people think power is loud. They think authority comes from volume, from how much they say, from how fast they respond. But real power? It's quiet. It's intentional. It's patient. Silence is not the absence of speech. It's the control of it. It's the gap that turns ordinary sentences into statements that stay echoing in people's minds. Every great speaker knows silence is where power breathes. That pause after you speak, that's where your authority settles in. That stillness before you respond, that's where your confidence grows. That quiet moment when everyone waits for your reaction, that's when you control the room. You have a choice. You can react fast and look desperate, or pause and look in control. When you pause, you're telling the world, I think before I move. You're saying, I don't rush to impress. I choose when to engage. And that's the key. Silence communicates confidence before your words even arrive. Most people talk because they fear being misunderstood. You'll learn to be okay with being misunderstood. Because when your silence is strong, people feel your intention even without words. Let's break this down. There are 3 kinds of silence. One is the silence of control. You use this when emotions run high. Someone tries to provoke you. Someone tries to get a reaction. Instead of defending yourself, you breathe. You wait. You let their noise expose their insecurity. You don't need to defend truth. Truth stands fine on its own. That's discipline. It's not about pride. It's about mastery. Anyone can speak out of impulse, but it takes a leader to stay calm in chaos. Then there's the silence of influence. You use this when you're communicating something important. When you want people to truly listen, you don't rush. You let your words land. Then you let silence work. Think about it. When someone says something profound and pauses, the silence pulls everyone closer. The mind fills the gap. People lean in. That's not an accident. That's strategy. Silence turns passive listeners into active thinkers. Because in silence, the brain reflects. It asks, did I understand that right? What does that mean for me? And that's where transformation begins, in the quiet that follows truth. Then there's the silence of presence. This is the kind that builds energy before you even speak. You walk into a room and you don't need to announce yourself. Your stillness says, "I'm here. I'm grounded. I'm not seeking approval." People who are always talking give away their energy. People who master silence protect it. Your silence doesn't mean weakness. It means depth. It means you're not performing for attention. You're preparing for precision. And when you finally speak, every word lands like a strike. Here's what you need to unlearn. You don't earn respect by filling every space with sound. You earn it by knowing when not to speak. Silence shows that you're not desperate for validation. It shows that you can handle tension. It shows that your emotions don't control you. You control them. You have a choice every day. Speak to fill space, or stay silent and own the moment. That's leadership. But here's what most people get wrong. They confuse silence with passivity. They think staying quiet means surrender. No. Strategic silence is not surrender. It's selection. It means you're choosing the right time to strike. It's not about being cold. It's about being calculated. You speak when your words will make an impact, not when your ego wants attention. When you learn this, your presence changes. You walk slower. You respond slower. You think deeper. You stop reacting to everything that moves. That's when you become unpredictable, and unpredictability creates power. Let's make it practical. Here's how you start using silence as a strategy. 1. Before you respond, pause for 2 seconds. It feels small, but that pause changes the rhythm of a conversation. It shifts control back to you. 2. After you make a strong point, stop talking. Let the silence emphasize your words. Let it hang in the air. That's what makes people remember it. 3. When provoked, don't react. Let silence be your armor. When people can't predict your reaction, they lose control over you. 4. In conflict, lower your voice and slow your speech. The quieter you are, the more power you gain. People will have to focus to keep up. That's dominance without aggression. You'll start to notice something once you practice this. People will begin to mirror your calm. They'll start to slow down around you. Your silence will shift the energy of the room. Why? Because people subconsciously trust those who don't rush. They sense stability. They sense depth. They sense someone who knows exactly who they are. And that's the kind of presence that doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't need to beg to be understood. That's what makes you magnetic. Silence teaches patience. It teaches restraint. It reminds you that control isn't about dominance. It's about discipline. Anyone can speak out of impulse, but it takes a leader to stay calm in chaos. It's not about avoiding confrontation. It's about mastering timing. You don't fight every battle. You fight the ones that matter, and you fight them on your terms. You don't need their permission to pause. You don't need their validation to stay still. You don't need their understanding to move in silence. Because silence is not empty. It's full of energy. It's where your thoughts mature. It's where your emotions reset. It's where your power breathes. So stop fearing silence. Start using it. Train yourself to see silence as the space between action and reaction, the place where leaders are made. That's the key. That's where you gain control over your voice, your emotions, and your impact. Remember this. You can't hear your instincts if you're always talking. You can't feel your power if you're always performing. And you can't lead anyone if you can't lead your own mouth. So pause. Breathe. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Because when you speak less, your words carry more. When you wait longer, your timing becomes sharper. And when you master silence, you no longer chase power. You become it. You've learned to stop talking to be liked. You've learned that silence is not a weakness, it's your strategy. Now it's time to go deeper, because silence alone isn't enough. It's the energy behind your words that give them life. Chapter 4. The energy behind your words. Your voice doesn't start in your mouth. It starts in your energy. Before you ever say a word, people feel you. They feel your confidence, your conviction, your belief, or your lack of it. You can memorize lines, you can rehearse phrases, but you can't fake energy. Because here's the truth. People don't follow your words, they follow your energy. That's what separates those who speak from those who move people. When you walk into a room, before you even open your mouth, your energy is already talking. It says who you are. It says what you believe. It says whether you're a follower or a leader. Your tone, your posture, your presence, they all speak louder than your vocabulary. You can have the best words in the world, but if your energy is weak, your message dies on arrival. So stop focusing only on what to say. Start focusing on what you carry when you say it. Here's the problem. Most people speak from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of being wrong. And you can hear it in their tone. It trembles, it hesitates, it asks for approval. But leaders speak from belief. They speak from conviction. They speak from a grounded certainty that says, I know what I'm saying and I mean it. That's the difference. It's not about sounding perfect, it's about sounding sure. Because confidence doesn't come from volume, it comes from energy alignment. Let's make it simple. Your energy equals your message. If your energy is scattered, your message will be unclear. If your energy is weak, your message will fall flat. If your energy is desperate, your words will lose power. People don't remember every sentence you say. They remember how you made them feel. That's why leaders work on their internal state before they ever speak. Your energy must match your intention. If you want to inspire, bring passion. If you want to correct, bring authority. If you want to connect, bring warmth. But whatever you do, don't fake it. Because energy doesn't lie. Here's what most people don't realize. Energy leaks through behavior. You can say all the right things, but your body will expose you. You say you're confident, but your shoulders are hunched. You say you're calm, but your voice shakes. You say you're certain, but your eyes dart around the room. You don't have to say, I'm nervous. Your energy already said it. That's the key. Communication is 80% energy, 20% words. So if you want people to listen to you, stop rehearsing your sentences and start aligning your state. Your voice doesn't need to be loud, it needs to be alive. Let's talk about posture, the silent amplifier of your words. Your posture tells the world what to believe about you. When you stand tall, you say, I belong here. When you hold eye contact, you say, I'm not afraid. When you breathe slowly, you say, I'm in control. You don't need to tell people to respect you. Your energy commands it before you even speak. That's why you have to master your internal environment before you step into any external one. Energy doesn't start on stage, it starts when you wake up. You have a choice every morning. You can wake up reactive, scrolling, comparing, doubting, or you can wake up intentionally, grounding, breathing, focusing. That's where your energy is built. Before the world hears you, you must hear yourself, because how you start your day determines how you carry your power. If your mind is chaotic, your words will be chaotic. If your spirit is tired, your message will sound tired. That's why great leaders protect their energy like currency. They don't give it away cheaply. They don't waste it trying to convince small minds. They invest it where it creates impact. Let's go deeper. Energy is not just emotion, it's frequency. When you speak from anger, people feel resistance. When you speak from peace, people feel clarity. When you speak from fear, people feel doubt. You can't hide it. You can only transform it. So before you speak, ask yourself, what energy am I carrying into this moment? Is it confidence or insecurity? Is it purpose or performance? Is it truth or tension? That's the real work, not writing a better speech, but becoming a better vessel. Because when your energy is right, even simple words sound powerful. Let me make this practical. Here's how you align your energy before you speak. 1. Ground your body. Before you speak, plant your feet. Breathe deeply. Drop your shoulders. This simple act tells your body, I'm safe, I'm ready. And your voice will respond with strength. 2. Connect to your intention. Ask yourself, why am I saying this? If your answer is to impress, stop. If your answer is to influence, proceed. Energy follows intention always. 3. Slow down your pace. Speed kills presence. When you rush your words, you signal insecurity. When you slow down, you signal authority. Silence between your sentences amplifies energy. 4. Speak from your chest, not your throat. Powerful energy comes from breath, not tension. When you project from your chest, your voice carries weight. It resonates. It commands space. Think of your favorite leaders. They don't need to shout. They speak with calm power. They let their energy fill the silence. They don't perform. They radiate. That's the difference between sounding confident and being confident. One is practice. The other is embodied. You don't need to act powerful. You need to believe that you already are. Because belief generates the energy people respond to. That's why the strongest voice in any room belongs to the one who doesn't need to prove anything. Their words don't beg for agreement, they simply stand. It's not about charisma, it's about congruence. When your body, mind, and message are aligned, that's energy mastery. You can say less, but mean more. You can pause longer, but lose no control. You can whisper and still be heard. That's what happens when energy and message become one. And you don't need permission to embody it. You don't need validation to speak with strength. You don't need to perform for acceptance. You just need to remember. Power is not given, it's projected. Your tone speaks before your words do. Your posture speaks before your mouth moves. Your energy speaks before your message begins. So when you speak, mean it. When you enter a room, own it. When you share your truth, feel it first. Because people won't follow what you say, they'll follow what you are. That's the secret of every great communicator. They don't just speak words, they transmit belief. And belief, real belief, is contagious. So protect your energy. Train it. Direct it. Because when you learn to control your energy, you control every room you walk into. And remember, people don't follow your words, they follow your energy.
You don't beg for attention, you command it. And here's the truth. The loudest person in the room isn't always the one in control. The one who controls the energy, the tone, and the pace of the room is. That's the key. Commanding attention isn't about volume, it's about presence. It's not about demanding people to look at you. It's about making them unable to look away. When you walk into a space, you communicate long before you speak. Your posture, your breath, your stillness, they announce you. You either radiate control or leak insecurity. You either project grounded confidence or restless need. And make no mistake, people can sense both instantly. Stop asking to be seen. Let's get this straight. You don't need their permission to be heard. You don't need validation to speak with authority. You don't need anyone to crown you before you stand tall. People who beg for attention lose it. People who command it keep it. The world is full of noise. Everyone's shouting, posting, performing. Most of them are desperate to be noticed. You can't compete with that by shouting louder. You win by being stiller, stronger, sharper. Command attention by presence, not performance. Control the room by energy, not ego. That's the difference between leadership and desperation. The energy of stillness. Stillness is power. It draws people in because it's rare. Most people fidget, over-explain, over-laugh, over-talk. They feel silence because they fear it. But a disciplined mind uses silence as a weapon. When you stop rushing to speak, your words begin to matter. When you stop chasing reactions, your energy becomes magnetic. You see, when you're calm, people lean in. When you're still, they listen harder. That's because calmness signals control, and control is authority. You have a choice, to chase attention or to command it. One drains your power, the other multiplies it. The posture of presence. Let's talk about body language, because your body speaks before your mouth ever does. Your shoulders tell people if you believe in yourself. Your eyes tell them if you mean what you're saying. Your breathing tells them if you're calm or nervous. Commanding attention starts in the body. Stand like you belong there. Breathe from your core. Keep your head level. Don't shrink, don't puff up, just own your space. You're not trying to dominate people. You're anchoring yourself. That's the difference. Real strength doesn't flex, it stabilizes. When you speak, make your movements deliberate. Don't fidget, don't dart your eyes, don't rush your sentences. Every action should say, I'm in control. That's how leaders project quiet power. The voice that carries. Your voice is your instrument of influence, but most people never learn how to play it. When you speak too fast, you sound nervous. When you speak too softly, you sound unsure. When you speak too loudly, you sound desperate. The key is balance, projection, not volume. Projection is when your voice comes from your diaphragm, not your throat. It's grounded, it's strong, it carries. When you project, your voice commands attention naturally. People feel it, not just hear it. Here's a simple truth. Conviction can't be faked. You can memorize all the right words, but if there's no belief behind them, people will sense it. You don't convince people by talking more. You convince them by believing deeper. The power of the pause. The pause is where power breathes. You've heard it before, but few understand it. When you pause, you control the rhythm of the conversation. You decide where the energy goes. You create space, and space creates gravity. Try this. Next time you speak, don't rush. Let your words hang for a moment. Let silence follow your statement. That pause is where your message sinks in. That's what powerful speakers do. They don't fill every second. They own every second. Remember this. Weak people rush their message. Strong people let it land. You have a choice, to talk endlessly
or to speak intentionally. Choose intention. The confidence loop. Confidence is not a gift, it's a discipline. It starts with one small decision: to stop apologizing for your presence. Stop saying, "Sorry, can I say something?" Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop softening your message just to be liked. You don't need to beg to be heard. You don't need to ask to be respected. Respect follows clarity, conviction, and consistency. You don't earn attention by trying to fit in. You earn it by standing firm. The more you stand firm, the more confidence you grow. The more confident you become, the more attention you command. That's the confidence loop. But it begins with one decision: to stop asking for permission. Command, don't chase. You can't command attention if you're still chasing approval. You can't project power if you're still performing for validation. Every time you try to prove yourself, you leak energy. Every time you over-explain, you weaken your presence. Real power is quiet. It doesn't chase. It doesn't explain. It simply is. The moment you stop caring whether they notice you, that's when they start noticing. Because power doesn't ask to be recognized. It simply reveals itself. You have a choice: be the noise everyone ignores, or be the silence everyone feels. Practice command daily. How do you build this presence? Through discipline, every single day. Practice speaking slower than you think. Pause longer than you're comfortable. Stand taller than you feel. Breathe deeper than you want. These small habits train your nervous system to stay grounded under pressure. They teach your body to project confidence even when your mind doubts. Remember, the goal is not to impress, it's to influence. And influence begins with composure. You don't become magnetic by talking more. You become magnetic by mastering your energy. That's the key. Commanding attention isn't about ego, it's about alignment. When your body, your voice, and your mind are aligned, people feel it. You don't have to perform, you just are. That's what leaders, creators, and warriors understand. They don't chase applause, they move with intention. So the next time you walk into a room, don't ask yourself, will they notice me? Ask, am I present, grounded, and intentional? Because when you are, they'll notice. Every time. You don't need their permission to be heard. You just need discipline to stay silent until your presence speaks for you. You've learned how to command attention without begging for it. Now it's time to sharpen your weapon, your words. Because confidence means nothing if your message is chaos.
Chapter 6. The Discipline of Clarity. Clarity is power. Confusion is weakness. That's the truth most people ignore. They hide behind complicated words and long explanations, thinking it makes them sound smarter. It doesn't. It makes them forgettable. Weak speakers talk to impress. Strong speakers talk to impact. Every word you say either builds trust or destroys it. That's the key. Because clarity builds trust. Confusion kills credibility. You have a choice. You can be the person people listen to or the person people tune out. Say less, mean more. Most people talk too much because they think talking equals value. It doesn't. Meaning equals value. When your message is clear, you don't need 50 words to say what 5 can do. Power lives in precision. Think about it. When a leader speaks, they don't ramble. When a commander gives an order, they don't over-explain. When a disciplined mind communicates, every sentence has weight. That's how clarity works. It strips away the unnecessary. It cuts through noise. It forces focus. Clarity is not decoration. It's discipline. Confusion is a form of weakness. Let's be honest, most people hide behind confusion because they haven't done the mental work. They haven't decided what they truly mean. They haven't clarified what they truly believe. They haven't simplified their message into something that hits. So they talk in circles. They drown their ideas in filler. And here's what that tells the world. I'm not ready. I'm not confident. I'm not clear. You can't lead, teach, or influence without clarity, because people don't trust what they don't understand. That's the rule, not just in communication, but in life. If you want people to follow you, believe you, or buy from you, you must be clear. Clarity creates confidence. Confusion breeds doubt. Clarity begins with thinking. Clarity starts before you open your mouth. It begins with how you think. If your thoughts are cluttered, your words will be messy. If your emotions are scattered, your tone will be weak. You can't speak clearly about something you don't understand deeply. So before you speak, slow down. Ask yourself, what am I actually trying to say? Why does it matter? What do I want them to feel or do after hearing this? That's how disciplined communicators prepare. They don't just talk, they design their words. When your thinking is organized, your message becomes undeniable. You don't need more words, you need more clarity. The power of simplicity. Let me say this clearly. Simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is mastery. Only the insecure overcomplicate. Only the confused use big words to hide small thoughts. True strength is when you can explain something deep in simple language. Albert Einstein said it best, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. The greatest communicators in history, leaders, teachers, prophets, all had one thing in common. They spoke plainly, but their words carried weight. That's what you should aim for. Strip away the fluff. Cut the filler. Say what needs to be said. No more, no less. Simplicity is discipline. Confusion is laziness. You have a choice. Structure your message like a weapon. If your message is scattered, it won't land. If your story has no structure, people will forget it. So here's how to structure your message for impact. 1. Start with clarity of purpose. Know exactly what you want your audience to understand or do. 2. Support with precision. Give 1 or 2 examples, not 10. 3. End with strength. Leave them with a clear takeaway, something they can't forget. That's how you turn information into influence. Each word should move toward your main idea, or it doesn't belong there. Cut the fat, sharpen the edge, deliver the strike. That's how professionals speak. The discipline of editing your words. Here's something powerful. Great communicators edit themselves constantly. Before they speak, they filter their message through clarity. They remove what's unnecessary. They polish what's essential. If you want to become clear, practice cutting. Say your message out loud, then remove 1 sentence. Read your post again and cut 3 more words. Keep cutting until every word left matters. That's what discipline sounds like, clean, direct, and unforgettable. Most people say too much because they don't trust their message enough. But you'll learn to trust silence. You'll learn to trust simplicity. You'll learn to trust that your message doesn't need to be long to be powerful. Clarity builds power. Think about the people you respect most, mentors, speakers, leaders. They speak with clarity. They don't waste words. They don't confuse you. Why? Because clarity builds authority. When you're clear, people feel safe listening to you. They know where you stand. They understand what you mean. And that's how trust is built. If you want to lead, don't try to sound smart. Sound clear. If you want to influence, don't try to impress. Try to connect. If you want to be remembered, stop trying to decorate your words. Try to define them. Clarity is not just about words, it's about confidence. Real-world discipline. Let's make this practical. Here's how to train clarity every day. Write short summaries of your ideas. If you can't explain something in one paragraph, you don't understand it yet. Record yourself speaking. Notice where you ramble. Fix it. Ask for feedback. If someone says, "I don't get it," don't defend yourself. Refine your message. Use fewer words. Every time you can replace a sentence with a single line, do it. That's how you turn clarity into habit. Because clarity is not an accident, it's a discipline. And just like any discipline, it takes work, repetition, and humility. The cost of confusion. If clarity builds trust, confusion destroys it. Every unclear word chips away at your credibility. Every vague statement weakens your influence. Every long, unfocused message makes people question your competence. You can't afford that, not as a leader, not as a creator, not as someone who's building something meaningful. Confusion is the enemy of influence. So don't settle for being heard. Be understood. When you master clarity, your voice becomes your weapon. Your words stop blending in. Your message starts cutting through. And that's what the world needs. Not more noise, but more clarity. You don't need their permission to speak powerfully. You don't need fancy words to sound credible. You just need to be disciplined enough to be clear. Clarity builds trust. Confusion kills credibility. That's the law of communication and the foundation of influence. You've mastered clarity. You've learned to say less and mean more. Now it's time to go deeper into the psychology behind influence itself, because the next level isn't about what you say, it's about how people respond to it.
Chapter 7. The Psychology of Influence. Influence is not manipulation. It's alignment. It's not about forcing people to agree with you. It's about helping them see what you see. Real influence isn't loud. It isn't desperate. It isn't built on control. It's built on conviction. That's the key. Because leadership is not control. It's conviction that others believe in. You have a choice. Manipulate people for quick results or lead them through belief and clarity. One collapses with time, the other builds a legacy. Influence starts with self-belief. You can't influence anyone if you don't believe in what you're saying. Influence starts inside. It begins with conviction. People don't follow words, they follow energy, emotion, and certainty. They follow the person who speaks like they know where they're going. You can't fake that. You can't pretend confidence. Your body will betray hesitation. Your tone will expose insecurity. You influence people when you first convinced yourself. That's the foundation. Before you convince the world, you must convince the mirror. People don't think, they feel. Here's the truth. People don't make decisions logically. They make decisions emotionally, then justify them logically. That's how influence works. You don't persuade people with data alone. You persuade them by connecting to what matters to them. Every great leader, every great communicator understands this. If you want to move people, speak to their emotions first. Logic makes them understand. Emotion makes them act. So when you speak, ask yourself, what emotion do I want to create? Do I want them to feel urgency, hope, pride, or responsibility? Am I aligning my tone, my words, and my presence with that emotion? That's how real influence is built, not through manipulation, but emotional connection. The principle of alignment. Manipulators push, leaders align. Manipulation says, do this for me. Influence says, do this because it serves you. See the difference? Influence is when your message meets their motivation. It's when your purpose aligns with their desire. That's why clarity matters so much, because you can't align with confusion. You influence people by showing them how your vision connects to their values. When they see themselves in your message, they follow willingly. That's not control, that's alignment. That's the psychology of leadership. Trust, the core of all influence. Here's a rule that never fails. No trust, no influence. You can't persuade someone who doesn't trust you. You can't move someone who doubts your integrity. People don't follow perfect speakers. They follow honest ones. They follow consistency. They follow people who say what they mean and mean what they say. When your words match your actions, your influence multiplies. When they don't, it dies. Trust is built slowly, but it breaks instantly. That's why discipline matters. Because every time you show up with clarity, truth, and consistency, your credibility grows. And credibility is the foundation of influence. You don't need everyone to like you. You just need people to believe you. Influence is framed, not forced. Here's another truth. People rarely do what you tell them, but they almost always do what they believe they decided to do. That's why skilled communicators don't command, they frame. Framing means shaping the way people see a situation so they reach the conclusion you already know is right. Example, instead of saying, "You need to work harder," say, "You're too talented to play small." Instead of saying, "Stop complaining," say, "Winners adapt, and I know you're one." Same goal, different delivery. That's the influence. You lead by helping people take ownership of your message. The best communicators don't push, they pull. They don't demand belief, they inspire it. You have that power if you learn to frame instead of force. Influence without words. Some of your strongest influence doesn't come from what you say, it comes from what you are. Your posture, your silence, your consistency. People are always watching how you react, how you move, how you carry yourself when no one's clapping. That's where influence is built, in the quiet moments, in your discipline, in your example. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You don't need to beg to be respected. Influence is energy. It radiates from self-mastery. Before you can lead others, you must first master yourself. Because people don't follow your advice, they follow your example. That's the key. The subtle power of listening. You can't influence people you don't understand, and you can't understand people you don't listen to. Listening is an underrated tool of influence. When you listen deeply, you gather information others miss. You hear what they fear, what they want, what they truly mean. And once you know that, you can speak to it directly. That's how leaders create movement. They listen to align, not to reply. Silence can be your most strategic move, because when people feel heard, they open up. And once they open up, they become open to change. That's influence through empathy, not manipulation. How to practice influence daily. Let's make this real. Here's how to train the psychology of influence in your daily life. 1. Speak from belief, not performance. Don't try to sound powerful. Be powerful by believing what you say. 2. Match energy before leading it. Meet people where they are emotionally, then guide them upward. 3. Use framing, not forcing. Present ideas as opportunities, not orders. 4. Build trust through consistency. Let your actions say what your words can't. 5. Listen to understand, not to answer. The more you understand people, the more you can move them. Do these things daily, because influence isn't a skill you turn on, it's a way of being. The real psychology of influence. Let's bring this home. Influence isn't about power over people, it's about power with people. It's not about control, it's about conviction. People follow those who move with clarity, integrity, and belief. Not because they're told to, but because they want to. When you speak with alignment, when you live with authenticity, your influence expands without you even trying. That's how true leaders rise, not by demanding respect, but by embodying it. And that's your mission. Stop chasing followers. Start cultivating believers, because belief lasts longer than attention. Influence is energy. It flows from conviction. It grows through consistency. And it multiplies through alignment. You don't need manipulation to lead. You don't need control to command. You just need to live what you speak, and speak what you live. Leadership is not control. It's conviction that others believe in. That's the heart of influence. That's the discipline of communication. You've mastered alignment. You've learned how real influence moves people. Now it's time for the next level. Mastering yourself while you speak. Because emotion can build your message or destroy it.
Chapter 8. Emotional Control While Speaking. Emotion fuels passion, but discipline sustains control. You've seen it happen. Someone starts speaking, they have the facts, the story, the moment. But then emotion takes over. Their voices shake, their hands fidget, their focus slips. And just like that, their message loses its power. Emotion is not the enemy. Lack of discipline is. Leaders don't let emotion sabotage delivery. They channel it. They know emotion can fuel passion, but only discipline can guide it. That's the key. You don't need to be cold. You need to be composed. You don't need to hide your feelings. You need to harness them. Because when you speak, your emotion should serve your message, not replace it. 1. Control begins before you speak. You don't master emotion in the moment. You master it before the moment. When pressure hits, you don't rise to your expectations. You fall to your level of preparation. That's why professionals rehearse. They don't rehearse to memorize. They rehearse to stabilize. If your breathing is fast, your mind races. If your breathing slows, your mind sharpens. That's not philosophy. That's physiology. So, before you speak, breathe slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Do it 3 times. You're not calming yourself down. You're taking command of your nervous system. That's discipline. Emotion doesn't disappear. It obeys the one who's in charge. Be that person. 2. Don't react. Respond. When someone challenges you, your ego wants to fight. When someone interrupts you, your pride wants to defend. But influence doesn't live in a reaction. It lives in a response. You have a choice. In every heated exchange, in every disagreement, in every attack, you have a choice. You can react like everyone else or respond like a leader. Reacting is emotional. Responding is intentional. Reacting costs respect. Responding earns it. That's how you hold a room without shouting. That's how you win trust without forcing agreement. Remember this, the loudest person isn't the strongest. The calmest person is. Because calm is not weakness. Calm is control. 3. Emotion as energy, not chaos. Emotion is raw energy.
It's fuel, it's a drive, it's passion. But energy without direction is chaos, and chaos destroys credibility. When you're angry, channel it into clarity. When you're nervous, channel it into focus. When you're passionate, channel it into purpose. That's the discipline. You don't kill emotion, you convert it. Think about a fire. Uncontained, it burns everything down. Contained, it powers a city. Your emotions are the same. Leaders learn to contain the fire, not to dim it, but to direct it. 4. Composure under criticism. The real test of emotional control isn't on stage. It's when you're being judged, mocked, or misunderstood. Anyone can sound confident when they're praised, but when criticism hits, that's when your discipline speaks louder than your words. When someone attacks your idea, pause before you answer. That pause is power. That silence is self-respect. Never let emotion pull you into their chaos. Never let frustration write your response. You don't need to win every argument. You need to preserve your authority. Remember, control is contagious. When you stay composed, others follow your lead. When you lose it, you teach them they can control you. Emotion fuels passion, but discipline sustains control. That's the difference between a speaker and a leader. 5. How to build emotional discipline daily. Emotional control isn't built on stage, it's built in daily habits. Every argument, every frustration, every setback, they're training. The next time someone irritates you, don't react. Observe. The next time you feel fear before a big moment, don't run. Breathe. Train your emotional muscle the same way you train your body, through repetition. Because emotional control is a skill, and skills are built through practice, not personality. Start small. Control your tone in conversations. Control your posture in disagreements. Control your thoughts when anxiety shows up. Every small victory builds your emotional armor, and that armor will protect your message when the pressure is highest. 6. The voice of a leader. Your tone is your temperature. When you speak from panic, your voice shakes. When you speak calmly, your voice carries weight. Leaders don't rush their sentences. They let silence do the heavy lifting. Because silence says, I'm not afraid to think before I speak. That's the discipline. That's the difference. So, the next time you speak, slow down. Let your words breathe. Let your pauses land. Emotion gives your words life, but control gives them authority. 7. Transform emotion into power. Here's the truth. You'll never remove emotion from your communication, and you shouldn't, because emotion is what connects you to people. But connection without control is chaos. So instead of fighting your emotion, master it. Let it drive you, not derail you. That's the evolution of a leader, from reactive to responsive, from emotional to intentional, from loud to commanding. Remember, emotion fuels passion, but discipline sustains control. That's the foundation of every great communicator. When your heart races, slow your breath. When your hands shake, ground your feet. When your voice trembles, anchor your thoughts. You don't need to eliminate emotion, you just need to govern it. That's emotional discipline, and that's leadership. You've learned to master your delivery under pressure. You've learned to lead yourself before leading others. Now it's time to build unshakable confidence. Because even when you don't have all the answers, your conviction must sound like you do. You mastered emotional control. Now, let's talk about the next step.
Chapter 9. Speak with certainty, even when you're unsure. You've seen people who sound sure of themselves, even when the odds are stacked against them. They speak, and you believe them, not because they're always right, but because they sound like they are. That's not arrogance. That's certainty. Certainty doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from trusting yourself to figure it out. That's the key. Confidence isn't a mood. It's a discipline. It's built, trained, reinforced, not imagined. You don't fake confidence. You build it through discipline. 1. Confidence is built, not borrowed. Stop waiting to feel confident before you act. You won't. That's not how confidence works. Confidence doesn't appear before action, it grows because of it. Every time you speak up, even when unsure, you train your nervous system to handle pressure. Every time you show up unprepared but still commit, you build inner stability. That's how it starts. Not with perfection, but with participation. The people who look confident aren't fearless. They're familiar. They've been in that discomfort long enough to make it home. You can't think your way into confidence. You have to live your way into it. You have a choice. You can wait until you feel ready, or start speaking like someone who already is. That's the key. 2. Certainty comes from structure. Uncertainty is chaotic. Structure creates calm. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be too. That's why confident speakers sound clear, not because they know everything, but because they've organized their thinking. So before you speak, structure your ideas. Use this rhythm: point, proof, purpose. Point, say what you mean. Proof, give a reason or example. Purpose, explain why it matters. That's it. That's the skeleton of certainty. You don't need to sound brilliant. You need to sound anchored. And structure anchors emotion. It gives your mind something to hold when everything feels unstable. So when you don't know what to say next, breathe, pause, and return to structure. That's discipline in action. 3. Your tone carries more than your words. People believe how you say something more than what you say. That's not psychology. That's human nature. When your tone is strong, people assume your words are true. When your tone is hesitant, even the truth sounds uncertain. That's why your voice is a tool, not decoration. It's your instrument of influence. So train it. Slow down. Drop your pitch slightly. End your sentences with conviction, not apology. No rising tones of doubt. No rushed explanations. No over-talking to prove a point. Confidence is quiet, calm, and grounded. It doesn't chase approval. It commands respect. You don't need to sound loud. You need to sound sure. That's the difference. 4. Posture is language. Before you even open your mouth, your body has already spoken. Your posture broadcasts what you believe about yourself. Slumped shoulders whisper insecurity. Steady eye contact signals authority. It's not about faking it. It's about aligning your body with your intent. Stand tall, feet planted, chin level, hands steady. That posture doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you feel about you. Because physiology drives psychology. When your body takes command, your mind follows. So even when you're unsure, stand like you're sure. Speak like you're sure. Move like you're sure. Eventually, your nervous system catches up. You don't fake confidence. You train it into your body. That's the discipline. 5. Eliminate weak language. Words create energy, and weak words drain it. Phrases like, I think, I'm not sure, maybe, kind of. These are killers of credibility. Cut them out. Replace them with power statements. I believe. I've seen this matters. Even if you don't have the full answer, speak with commitment to your perspective. Uncertainty in content is forgivable. Uncertainty in delivery is not. The moment you doubt your words, others will too. Remember, clarity builds trust, and trust begins with how confidently you present yourself. It's not about arrogance. It's about ownership. Own your words, even when they're incomplete. Own your stance, even when it evolves. That's what leaders do. 6. Discipline over doubt. Confidence dies when comfort wins. Every time you hide, hesitate, or hold back, you train yourself to doubt. But every time you act, despite fear, you train yourself to lead. That's why confidence is a muscle. You strengthen it through consistent exposure. Speak up in small moments, in meetings, in conversations, in challenges. Each rep builds tolerance. Each rep rewires your brain. Because repetition is the antidote to hesitation. You can't think your way into strength. You practice your way into it. You have a choice every day. Feed your fear or train your courage. One grows, the other fades. That's the key. 7. The inner game of certainty. Real confidence isn't loud. It's a quiet conviction. It's the inner voice that says, I can handle this, even when you've never done it before. It's the calm belief that no matter what happens, you'll adapt. That's what separates those who talk from those who lead. Confidence isn't about having control. It's about staying in control. Even when the plan changes, even when you stumble, even when eyes are on you. That's what makes people follow you. Not your words, your stability. Because people don't follow perfection. They follow certainty. And certainty is built through one thing: discipline. 8. The power of presence. When you speak, stop thinking about approval. Stop performing for validation. Focus on the moment. That's where power lives. Presence silences self-doubt. Because when your attention is fully on your message, your mind doesn't have room for fear. That's why confident people seem unshakable. They're not overthinking. They're over-focused. They're locked in. Every word, every pause, every movement, deliberate. You can build that too. It starts with discipline. It starts with awareness. It starts with the decision to be here, not in your head. You don't fake confidence. You build it through discipline. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's mastery over it. You'll always have moments of doubt, but those moments don't define you. Your response does. So when you feel uncertain, stand taller. When your voice trembles, slow your breath. When your mind races, lock into structure. You are not pretending. You are training. And every time you train, you're one step closer to unshakable certainty. That's how leaders are made. That's how you build a voice people trust. Confidence isn't luck. It's discipline in disguise. You mastered emotional control. Now it's time to learn how to use that control to guide others. You've learned to speak with certainty. Now let's go deeper, into influence itself.
Chapter 10. Lead with words, not noise. Leadership isn't about volume. It's not about the loudest voice in the room. It's not about being heard over the crowd. Great leaders don't compete for attention, they command it. That's the key. You have a choice. You can yell to be noticed, or you can act to be respected. Speak it, live it, lead it. Here's the hard truth. If your words aren't backed by action, they are empty. Promises without delivery are meaningless. Advice without implementation is noise.
Motivation without execution is cheap. You have a choice. You can speak loudly and fade into the background, or you can speak with integrity and dominate every room you enter. That's the key. Commanding respect starts with consistency. Your actions must mirror your words. You cannot preach discipline and skip your own responsibilities. You cannot talk about focus and scatter your energy on distractions. You cannot talk about courage and hide from discomfort. Speak it, live it, lead it. Repeat that. Speak it, live it, lead it. Here's the reality. People follow results, not excuses. They follow behavior, not rhetoric. You can speak passionately about success, about vision, about ambition, but if your life contradicts your words, you lose credibility. You have a choice. You can live a story that others question, or you can build a legacy that others admire. Let's break this down. There are 3 components to leading with words, not noise: clarity, action, and integrity. 1. Clarity. Know exactly what you stand for. What are your core principles? What is your mission? What are your non-negotiables? If you can't answer these questions clearly, your words will scatter. Clarity transforms speech into guidance. 2. Action. Speak it with intention, then act with precision. If you say discipline matters, show it. If you preach patience, demonstrate it. If you claim focus is power, embody it. Noise is everywhere. Action cuts through it. Every small, consistent step you take builds authority. Speak it, live it, lead it. 3. Integrity. Your word is your bond. If you say it, do it. If you commit, follow through. Integrity is rare in a world addicted to performance over substance. People notice when you keep your promises. People notice when your life aligns with your speech. People follow those they can trust. You have a choice. You can chase applause, or you can earn loyalty. That's the key. Great leaders also understand the power of silence. They don't feel the need to over-explain, over-justify, or over-perform for recognition. Silence allows your actions to speak. Silence allows your results to echo louder than your words ever could. Speak less, do more. Command respect quietly. Speak it, live it, lead it. Now let's talk about influence. Influence is not about manipulation or charm. Influence is earned by reliability. Influence is earned by proof. Influence is earned when your speech aligns perfectly with your actions. If you tell people to respect time and you're late, your influence collapses. If you teach perseverance but quit when it's hard, your influence evaporates. Speak it, live it, lead it. Repeat that. Speak it, live it, lead it. Here's a practical framework to implement this principle today. Audit your speech. List all the things you say you stand for. Discipline, focus, courage, growth, whatever it is, write it down. Audit your actions. Track how your daily choices align with what you say. Are you practicing what you preach? Are you executing consistently? Bridge the gap. Identify the areas where your actions don't match your words. Correct them. Commit to closing the gap daily. Measure results, not appearances. Leadership isn't about how many people hear you. It's about how many people follow you, trust you, and learn from you. Commanding respect also requires patience. You can't force credibility overnight. You can't manufacture trust in a week. Leadership is cultivated over months, years, decades. Small, repeated actions accumulate into authority. That's the key. You have a choice. You can demand attention now, or you can earn influence forever. Speak it, live it, lead it. Another truth is your words shape your environment. Speak negativity,
fear, doubt, and you create that world. Speak hope, courage, vision, and you elevate your space. Leaders understand this. They know every statement is a seed. They choose words carefully. They speak with intention. Speak it. Here's what most people miss. Leading with words is not about charisma. It's about alignment. It's about proving your statements through consistent behavior. It's about delivering on promises. It's about walking your talk. People forget speeches. People remember results. Let's close the loop. Think about the journey you've taken in this audiobook. You learn to move in silence. You learn to protect your energy. You learn that discipline beats motivation. You learn to turn doubt into action. You learned patience. You learned focus. Every lesson points to this truth. Leadership without action is noise. And now the final call. Lead with integrity. Let your life validate your words. Let your actions carry your promises. Let your consistency speak louder than applause. Speak less. Do more. Influence naturally. Command respect quietly. So take your words seriously. Take your actions seriously. Take your leadership seriously. The world will notice, but not for what you say. It will notice for what you do. You have a choice. You can compete for attention, or you can command it. This is your moment. Close the gap between speech and action. Make your promises count. Live with integrity. Influence with discipline. Speak it, live it, lead it. And remember, your leadership starts with you. Every choice, every action, every word matters. You have a choice. Stay committed, stay disciplined, stay unstoppable. You now understand what separates talkers from leaders. Talkers fill silence. Leaders create direction. Talkers chase approval. Leaders build trust. Your words are your legacy. Every conversation is a test of your discipline. Stop shrinking when it's time to speak. Stop waiting for the right moment to sound confident. That moment is now. From this day forward, speak with intention. Speak with power. Speak like the leader you're becoming. Because you have nothing to prove, only a standard to uphold. If this message hits you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and share it with someone ready to lock in too. Your future self is watching. Make them proud.